You can never live without it. And stablecoin is actually the same. For a lot of people, you don't want to use stablecoin. You'll be like, hey, cryptocurrency is so dangerous. I'm concerned about safety. I don't want to do it. But for a lot of people, they are forced to use it. As I mentioned, either because they are unbanked, underbanked, or because the local financial infra doesn't support them, they can't access the international financial infra or fintech infra. So you are forced to use stablecoin. But once you start using stablecoin, there's no going back. You will start appreciating its value, how convenient it is, how straightforward it is.
Welcome to Early Stage Journal, a show that goes beyond the results, valuations, and funding rounds to tell the deeper story behind each startup. I'm Lisa Tan, and on the show today is how Vancouver serial entrepreneur Shawn Pang is pioneering stablecoin solutions for small and medium-sized businesses. Whether you've heard of stablecoin or not, the cryptocurrency is one that you want to keep on your radar. Experts predict its effect will mirror breakthroughs like the iPhone, WhatsApp, and ChatGPT. That's because the digital stand-in for cash is transforming payments by cutting out the middlemen, delays, and high fees. Compared to traditional systems, it allows for moving money quickly and around the clock at a fraction of the cost. In Latin America, Asia, and Africa, stablecoin has already become essential for those who are or underbanked or lack access to financial services like branches or even ATMs. Many rely on their cryptocurrency for sending money internationally, preserving the value of their savings, and avoiding daily currency and inflation swings in their countries. Meanwhile, in the US, corporations are looking to stablecoin for new customer services and to manage internal finances like SAP and Visa. Tech giants Uber and Amazon and financial institutions like JP Morgan and Bank of America have announced plans to follow. More expected with the US passing the Genius Act. The legislation allows banks, fintechs, and credit unions to distribute or issue stablecoins. As interest surges, products are emerging to serve individuals and large corporations. That's left a gap in the middle for small and medium-sized businesses, which often lack the technical talent and budget to keep pace. Recognizing this, Shawn Pang founded AllScale, a fintech startup creating accessible, intuitive, and compliant stablecoin solutions for SMBs, from invoicing to payroll to social commerce. Shawn and his co-founders bring experience in product, compliance, and legal at major firms spanning crypto, finance, and tech, like Kraken, Block, Capital One, OKX, and TikTok. The trio founded AllScale in February of this year and recently raised $1.5 million pre-seed funding to accelerate the development and adoption of its products. Participating investors include venture capital firms Draper Dragon, Amber Group, KuCoin Exchange, Oak Grove Ventures, Y2Z Ventures, Cyberport Hong Kong, and angel investors Gracie Chen, Tony Chen, Shun Ma, and Jetty Liu. This is a story of how a series of pivots led to a breakthrough that started with an MVP running on spreadsheets and soon processed about $500,000 each month.
This is how I see new technologies. Even with AI, we actually had quite a few different periods of different hype where people thought, hey, AI is going to be here, AI is going to rule the world, but nothing actually changes that much. This time is different. Why is it different? I see two phenomena that help me to understand if it's the beginning of a new trend or just a temporary hype that doesn't lead to anything fruitful. I use two evaluations. Number one, stickiness. For example, I spent years building in the VR space actually. I was running a cloud rendering infra startup called Metaverse in the VR space. And we thought VR was going to come into real life. It's going to see mass adoption. People are so hyped about Metaverse, right? We're going to all live in the Metaverse. But actually, VR didn't pass the first test. The first test was, it doesn't matter how challenging it is to onboard people, but once people get onboarded, is it sticky? We asked ourselves the same question when Vision Pro came out as well. Vision Pro sounds so cool, right? It's very expensive, but we still see a lot of people buying it. But do people actually consistently use it? The answer is no, we're not there yet. Whether it's because of the hardware or because of the software experience, we're not there yet. We don't see the stickiness in VR. We saw the same problem with AI in the past. For example, we might be so hyped up about big data. We might be hyped up about deep learning. We might be hyped up about machine learning, all those kind of stuff. But do people actually get addicted to it? People don't. People aren't so relying on those AI. Maybe we still are to some extent, like underlying a lot of technology we're using, but you don't see people getting addicted to it. But ChatGPT was actually different. You know it's a new trend because once people know how to use it, you can never live without it. And stablecoin is actually the same. Compared to traditional currency, for example, you might be wondering, I already feel like everything's very so convenient. Why can't I just use USD? Why do I have to do things on chain? For example, with your friends in the States, you can just use Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal in Canada. E-transfer seems so straightforward, right? However, we need to be very realistic. We need to see our privileges. For example, right now, in Canada, statistics is that out of 1,000 people, there's only 4 to 10 people who don't have a bank account at max. However, if you go to other countries, for example, like Argentina, you can go to Africa, in emerging markets, you expect most people actually not to have a bank account. And they actually struggle with collecting payment from the clients, paying the vendors, especially if they're dealing with someone overseas. Originally I'm from China, I've actually experienced that China's quite developed country compared to how it was decades ago. And the kind of payment infra we have in China is actually among the best in the world. However, if my parents still want to send me money for my tuition, I might need to likely wait for 2 weeks. And sometimes the money could get stuck somewhere. And if you call a bank, they don't know where the money is. It's very tricky. And for some other business owners, for example, based in Argentina, your local currency might depreciate at such a quick speed that the amount of wealth you have will actually shrink half every quarter sometimes. And you're just afraid of holding things in a local currency. And the best bet you want to make is, hey, maybe I want to do USD. But at the same time, if you don't have a solid enough financial infrastructure, everything's accessible for you, you can't rely on them to use USD. What do? You use on-chain dollar, that is USDT, USDC. That's why people are so committed to building stablecoins, because they see how stablecoins can help people that are unbanked or underbanked. And also it can greatly improve the speed and efficiency of how people do business, especially if you want to do it overseas.
Going back to AllScale, I'd love to know more about how the idea came about. And yeah, would just love for you to walk me through how it happened.
Yeah, for sure. People expect, if you're building like a fintech startup, sometimes people expect maybe you study finance, maybe you've always worked in the payment industry, everything's really well, and naturally you saw stablecoin, you want to do it. For me, that's actually not the case. I see myself as a generalist. I'm super interested in anything new, other new technologies. I've worked at big tech. I've raised VC money to build different startups. I've bootstrapped a really successful agency that's always growing even right now. Like we built a lot of really amazing product, really amazing portfolio. Now I'm back to build this again. And I think everything actually, all the dots can be connected looking backwards. This is why and how I studied AllScale and why I got the idea. So about my experience, I actually went to Western. Yeah, I'm not sure if any one of our audience is actually from Western as well. So I studied computer science and business at Western. One was doing uni. I was a huge fan of doing hackathons. I remember for any hackathon I could attend, I just would drive my old Corolla, just go to attend the hackathon. If I get approved, I do it. If I don't get approved, I sneak in and still do the hackathon. It was a lot of fun. That's actually how I discovered crypto back when I was uni. Back then, not a lot of people are talking about it. People be like, is this a scam? Was seeing like Ethereum price going to 100. Is that gonna go down? Why are people talking about Bitcoin? Some people even claim, hey, Bitcoin one day will reach 100K. People are just lying. That's actually when things were still grody. But I started doing crypto just because back then I was such a huge fan doing hackathons. And if you develop any dApp related to crypto, you're more likely to get prize. That was actually how I got started with crypto. And then after I graduated, I have been exploring different fields, actually. For example, the only 2 full-time jobs that I worked at actually related to payment. I was product manager at Capital One. like working on identity fraud. I was kept on credit card in Canada. I was also the first product manager at TikTok in Canada, a first member in the Vancouver office. I was also building risk control and anti-fraud solutions for TikTok ads payment. So I dealt with payment a lot. And then in the past 3 years, I've been building a marketing agency called Hash Matrix, which we also previously discussed. We helped, I think, 1/3 of all the top Chinese AI founders and companies to grow overseas. A lot of like the names are actually pretty popular in the Bay Area as well. And while working, like helping my clients at Hash Matrix to grow, one problem that we realized is payment was actually not as easy as we thought it was. Couple problems were raised by our clients very frequently. Number one, I work with almost all of China's big tech, and they have different vendors overseas, especially now everyone is trying to grow overseas. They want to test the water in, for example, South America. They want to work with local agencies. They want to hire local contractors. But a lot of answer they get is, we can only take payment in stablecoin. It was very frustrating for them. What is stablecoin? Stablecoin actually back then still a sensitive topic in China because cryptocurrency is being embraced by the Hong Kong government, but in mainland China, it's still something that most people can work on. Like it requires a lot of like due diligence for to do anything. So it was hard for them to do it. And second kind of question that was raised was we work with a lot of startups. They want to hire the best engineers. And a lot of people they hire either from, for example, Bay Area or digital nomading. And for those people that are doing digital nomading, they'll also be like, I want to get paid in stablecoin. Can you pay me with stablecoin? A lot of clients also came to me asking, hey, Shawn, I have some talents that are really good. I just want to get them. This person from, for example, like Singapore, this person from maybe Thailand. How do I do it? Third question was actually kind of dilemma we experienced ourselves. At my agency, Hash Matrix, we manage like millions of dollars in marketing campaign budget every single month. And we had to figure out how do we make the payment to, for example, all the influencers that we work with. We hire a lot of influencers. For example, Twitter, we work with like hundreds of people. We sponsor a lot of like events, a lot of newsletters. When it comes to payment, it's actually really tricky because different people they always have different needs on, hey, can you pay me on Payoneer? I want PayPal. I want like wire transfer. But we realized a couple of things. Number one, if you work with, for example, freelancers, contractors from emerging market, their account could be frozen very easily. And there are many chances, like many cases actually, they can't get the payment from you. It just doesn't go through, or it's going to take a really long time. But you want to push them to get things started earlier because, you have a tight deadline. And that's when we started exploring, hey, maybe we want to do stablecoin. And that's actually also when I realized there's way more people than we expected that want to take stablecoin. And also, even for those people that never tried stablecoin before, if we propose, hey, can we pay you with stablecoin? Once they use it, they'll be like, hey, Shawn, in the future, can you always pay me with stablecoin? I know it was like a lot of irrelevant things that I talk about, but that's what I mean by all the dots can be connected. Looking back, you see those actually like all the necessary things that I had to do, working in the payment space, getting some experience in the crypto space, bootstrapping my agency, working with all those micro businesses, content creators, people working in the gig economy, freelancers. I realized how stablecoins could change the way they do business. It's not just a simple way of accepting payment. It's actually going to change the paradigm of how all those micro businesses work with their clients internationally. So that's what brought me to start building AllScale. We had the idea of exploring some solutions around stablecoin actually end of last year. So we came up with some very minimum work. We were bootstrapping was a stablecoin based payroll. And soon we reached about $500,000 processed every single month with everything just being run on spreadsheet. And we only work with some clients that we know really well. And that kind of convinced me, hey, this is something that I want to build. And also, as I mentioned, I have a lot of friends, past clients who are in the crypto space. Beginning of the year, we're also doing a lot of like research. We heard a lot of people talk about how things just suddenly changed once Trump got back into the office. We were talking with different financial institutions. We're even talking to some crypto exchanges founders who got even lawsuit in the States. But a lot of stuff changed. The dynamic just was different. So like maybe something's gonna change, We think the US government will actually do something very different this time. They might be pro-crypto. They might actually promote stablecoin. And we're also doing research in Hong Kong. We also saw a lot of people will be like, hey, once the US government will allow people to work on stablecoin, the Hong Kong government will follow right after. That's actually the case. When we heard the news about Genius Act in the US, next day, the Hong Kong government did something to follow up as well. It's just things came up a lot earlier than we expected. We were expecting this maybe by the end of the year or mid next year, but I think we made the bet. So we put together the team back in March, started working on this. I was really lucky to be able to work with all the investors that worked with me in the past. We got almost all of them back into my startup. They were able to make bet on us, and we raised our pre-seed. Now we're just building in the space. Our vision is we see stablecoin pass the first test. We see the stickiness. We see how people once use it, they never go back. But we don't see stablecoin passing the second test, ChatGPT moment, because the onboarding frictions are just so huge. Even though you might be like thrilled about the benefit of stablecoin, how it could help your business, but it's just so hard. How do people get stablecoin? Where do I keep my stablecoin? How do I send it to people? Do I send it to their email address? Do I send it on chain? I've heard if I keep money on chain, it's very unsafe, right? How do I keep my private key? If I send money on chain, how do I make sure I'm not involved in any kind of money laundering business? What about anti-terrorist financing? And even if I do it, how do I report tax? Where do I get the invoice? Things are actually very complicated. And that's what we're seeing here right now. We see so many amazing people jump into the space, building different solutions. We see a lot of huge incumbent, big financial institutions, payment companies, also building the space. But we don't see people working really well on the last mile problem, what we call last mile delivery. That's actually the tricky part. And we want to make it easy. We want to make it seamless. We want to automate and hide all the complexities when it comes to using stablecoin. Essentially, we want to make stablecoin more intuitive, safe, and compliant for any micro traditional businesses to use to grow internationally. And that's what we're building here.
Absolutely fascinating. And I want to highlight not irrelevant at all those unique experiences you touched on before getting to this point. So, why do you believe no one else has yet to approach tackling these problems in the way that AllScale has, like you mentioned, focusing on the last mile?
I think we're already seeing a lot of people come into the space. They're not necessarily building a payment startup. They're building new apps that are enabled by stablecoin. So we're not the first one here. We're not the only one here. We're seeing a lot of other people do it. But I do see some problems with how people are doing right now. For example, one, they might be overly focused on crypto native organizations or individuals. What I mean by crypto native, those people are very comfortable with doing on-chain transactions. They are not afraid of the complexities and risks of doing things on-chain. Those people don't need a lot of educations on how to use stablecoin. And we see people building in that field, especially with non-custodial solution. By non-custodial, you hold your own assets and you just use an interface to facilitate some kind of business logic, or you use smart contract to keep custody of some assets. So that's one type of businesses that we see. We see people building solutions for crypto native organizations. Second one is we're also seeing people building for example, large enterprises, large companies, or people who are building simple wallet for individuals. But there is actually a gap in the middle. We see those people who are not crypto native, those people who just want to focus on business. They don't want to focus so much on learning what stablecoin is, how do I do things on the blockchain, what is DeFi, what is DAO. They just want to do business. They're not large enterprises, and they don't have the capacity, the resources to set up things necessary for large enterprises to use it. At the same time, they're also not satisfied with, for example, some just crypto wallets. A lot of people rely on crypto wallet, especially the ones that, for example, people also use stablecoin card, even as a wallet, as the quote bank to do business. But you don't have a lot of business logic built in. It doesn't simplify how to do business. So we're seeing the gap here, and we want to be able to fill in the gap. We want to serve all the micro businesses who just want to focus on doing business, who can just simply benefit from the new paradigm brought by stablecoin, but don't get too involved in the complexities of blockchain. That's our focus here.
We talked a little bit more about the three products that you currently offer, but is there anything else you want to add in terms of the invoicing, social commerce, and payroll aspect? How do they work? And we also talked a lot about the biggest problems you solve for your customers, but is there anything else that you want to expand in that area as well?
Right now, we are focusing on invoicing and social commerce. Payroll was like a testing product that we tried, but even though like it wasn't our core thesis, it still grew much, much quicker than we expected. So we're still like helping them. For invoicing and social commerce, that's our focus here. We, as I mentioned, we want to help all the micro businesses that are trying to scale their business out there. We have three types of ideal customer profiles. Number one, we focus on creator economy. Those people who are creating content like their own newsletter, YouTube channel, TikTok, X account. They want to monetize on their followers. They might work with other people to do sponsored content. They might do affiliate marketing. Those people actually focus on, hey, I want to create content. I want to get audience, but how to monetize it? Maybe I can sell some courses, offer some kind of like membership. Second type of ICP is what we call the gig economy. So freelancers, contractors, consultants. We're seeing a lot of people, especially in the emerging market, if you speak English, very naturally, you want to work as a freelancer because you have the what we call the currency arbitrage. You are able to earn USD. You can spend your own local currency. And you have two barriers. Number one, language. But AI is actually changing that a lot. We're seeing a lot more people who can overcome the barrier of like language and start joining the global workforce. Number two, payment. And stablecoin actually help to solve that problem here. Our third ideal customer profile is small agencies. It can be a mix of the previous two, creator economy, gig economy, but we're also seeing a lot of people who are running very small agencies with a team under 5, but still want to serve clients internationally. We want to focus on them. So how do we help them? We don't just want to build another payment rail for them to accept money. We want to actually change the way they do business, make it very simple. And we just want to focus on how do they get paid from the clients. Two ways. Number one, for clients that are already working with, especially people who already started trying using stablecoin to collect payment. Right now, the way they do it is actually very like old school. You just send them your wallet address. They confirm the wallet address with you, confirm which chain you are using. Is it Ethereum? Is it Solana? Do you want a BNB? Is it Tron? And then send maybe $10 as test. And then once you get $10, you'll be like, hey, yeah, send the rest. But a lot of problems here. For example, number one, you will not be able to work with people who don't understand stablecoin if you can only take stablecoin. Number two, even for those people who understand stablecoin, it's actually very complicated. Once you have, for example, more than 20 clients paying you per month, so hard to track who paid which one, which wallet address, which refer to which. Number three, you actually run a lot of privacy and compliance risks. Once you have your wallet address, if you use your wallet address and take money directly, there's a chance you might be accidentally doing business with someone, like who is on the blacklist, who doesn't pass the AML screening. Once you take money from their wallet, it means your wallet will be contaminated as well. And then all the money in your account could have a lot of risk being frozen. If you put money back into another centralized exchange, you could risk your account being frozen. And it's not just that one transaction. It could be all the money you have. It could essentially mean the end of your business. And also people can see all the transactions you have directly. You don't have any privacy. And people can even see what clients you're working with. So it's very tricky. I want to make it simple. If you work with AllScale, what you can do is you will be able to very easily set up like the invoicing dashboard with us to see the status of our clients, the payment track record, status of each invoice. Is it paid? Is it being processed? Has it already been paid? When was it paid? How late was it? You can see all those analytics. You don't have to worry about the details. And the best part is we make it so simple and intuitive for anyone to pay. You can take stablecoin from people, even those people who don't understand stablecoin. For example, once you send them an invoice, if they know stablecoin, they can pay through us on-chain. If they don't know about stablecoin, they can very easily pay you even with credit card. In some regions, for example, PayPal, Venmo. And for some clients that pass our very rigorous KYB process, you can even set up same name business account through us, which means they can wire transfer you, but you still get the money in the form of stablecoin. That makes things very convenient and straightforward. And I want to have another disclaimer here. AllScale is a financial technology developer. We focus on the technology. We're not a bank, and we does not provide digital assets, custodian services. We don't touch anyone's money, and we only purely focus on the technology here. Also, we right now only operate in very limited regions. We're expanding our regions. This is just a disclaimer. So coming back to your question, I know it went a bit too far, but I want to give you the context. Invoicing, that's want to make it very easy for people to collect payment from clients. Social commerce is actually also related to that. Apart from just collecting money from clients, we want to make it easy for you to attract clients and get them to buy from you direct. We are seeing the trend of people using, for example, like Linktree, the Bell Link solutions, where we showcase all your services, all your portfolios, and we allow you to do that with AllScale as well. You essentially have a stablecoin storefront in the form of Bell Link. For example, you can have a link at allscale.io/Lisa. You can put it on LinkedIn, on Twitter, TikTok. People can click onto that. They can see what you're working on. They can see maybe I can buy an hour of consulting with you, and then they can pay you direct. You will be able to get paid in stablecoin. We'll make it very easy. So those are the two folks that we have right now. For payroll, we saw some clients with the same needs, especially with small agencies. But we're also testing with my existing clients. We just want to make it safe, intuitive, and compliant for traditional businesses to pay their contractors, freelancers with stablecoin. For example, the business can pay with USD, Canadian dollar, but the contractor can still get paid in the form of stablecoin. And for the contractors, we're also adding a stablecoin card. So you don't have to worry about off-ramping anymore. You don't have to ask, hey, Shawn, how do I turn my stablecoin into my local currency? We can give you a stablecoin card that you can connect with your account directly, and then you can just link it to your Apple, just use Apple Pay. You can spend it directly anywhere you want, just like a credit card, but we will automatically deduct stablecoin from you. So it makes the whole process a lot easier.
Going back to your clients so far, I'm wondering if you're able to share some of the most rewarding stories of how you've helped them so far.
Yeah, I won't be able to disclose a lot of number with the names, but the part that I enjoy the most is number one, with our payroll product. We're able to see how our payroll product can help. Actually, most of my payroll clients are in the AI space and also live streaming space. I could see them as an early stage startup can very easily build this talent network that they work with and start just rewarding them without worrying too much about all the complexities in the payment space. It becomes very straightforward, and we can see how we can actually help the business to scale more efficiently. But I'm actually more proud of what we're doing with invoicing and social commerce. We're starting to see, for example, freelancers and also small agencies in Africa and also in Southeast Asia, how they are able to benefit from us. In the past, they could only take stablecoin, which means they don't have access to 95% of the potential customers because the 95% don't use stablecoin, but right now they can still do business with them. We're unlocking this new market for them. The new market was already there. It just wasn't accessible for them because of, as I mentioned, payment. Now we're able to remove the barrier. We can see how we help more unbanked, underbanked, small businesses, micro businesses in the emerging market to join the global workforce and work with more global clients. And this can actually help them and their families, even people around them, to benefit. So we're super proud of doing that.
That's absolutely incredible. Now, I'd love to know, what is one of the biggest challenges you've had to face so far in building AllScale, and how did you and your team overcome it?
Stigma with cryptocurrency and compliance. The first part is actually a lot better right now because people are actually getting educated on stablecoins actually literally change the lives of so many people in the emerging market, as I mentioned, help them to do business. But compliance is still very tricky. You need to make sure everything's actually compliant. You want to be responsible for your clients. You want to make sure everything's safe, everything's secure, they don't get hacked, they don't accidentally break any rules. We want to remove all the complexities for our clients. That means we have a lot of behind the curtain work that we need to do. So compliance is really tricky. We're seeing a lot of changes in the regulation space, but we have really amazing team member. For example, one of our partner, he used to be the compliance lead for payment at Block and also Kraken. Super experienced in the space, understand how to navigate it. And also, most of the investors are also really supportive as well. Some of the largest financial institutions in Asia to help us to build a business here. At this stage, we're just, as I mentioned, a financial technology developer. Essentially, what we do is we see the whole process. We map everything a clients need to complete every single stage. It's actually a lot more complicated than people expect because it's not just simply getting paid, just a payment channel. For example, this involves how do you do KYB, KYC? How do you make sure you are storing the documents safe? How do you make sure you are complying with AML and anti-terrorist financing rules? And how do you do on-ramp, convert fiat into stablecoin? How do you do off-ramp? How do you do digital asset custody? How do you do fiat custody? And if you want to collect payment from different channels, who do you work with? Who are your liquidity providers? And if you want to offer same name bank account to allow wire transfer, which bank do you work with? How do you make sure the bank trusts you? And for transaction on chain, we're using MPC wallet to make sure it's safe, secure for our clients. How do you integrate that into your process? When you're doing, how do you make sure it's also secure? You don't the clients never run the risks of losing the money. And how do you make sure you do KYT on chain? So know your transactions. You need to do screening for the wallet. You need to do screening for the money they send you. And even after all that, those are just the basics. You still need to build the business logic on top of that, right? As I mentioned, the invoicing part, social commerce part, upfront seems easy. Underlying is actually very complicated. And we need to find the best vendor in every single space. And sometimes each vendor can only cover a certain region. So we might have to work with different vendors. And we want to find the vendors with best reputation, licensed, a lot of funding. So we know that's stable and integrate the whole process, streamline them. So that's tricky, but we enjoy doing that. That's what we believe in. We want to remove the barriers, want to make it easy for all the micro businesses to just do business. They don't want to be trapped into the complexities of stablecoin.
I'd love to know more. Again, you have such a unique experience leading up to AllScale. What are some lessons, failures, or motivations that inspire you to keep going during these challenging times beyond your mission and values for your clients?
That's a great question. 3 things that I believe in. Number 1, keep hustling. All the dots will be connected in the end, but you have to keep hustling. You need to take failure as a norm. Success is actually the rare thing. Failure is actually what you see every single day. If you don't get rejected, if you don't fail a couple times a day, I think it means you're not doing enough every day. Just see failure as your norm, everyday life. Success is actually rare. But once you try hard enough, once you do things enough, sometimes it's a numbers game, you will win. And also just keep building reputation here. So keep hustling. That's number 1. Number 2, always stay in the game. Sometimes when you start something, people will be challenging you a lot. People are why can you build this marketing agency? But if you do it for 3 years, you work with all the top companies, people don't question you anymore. And people will be how do I know you can build a fintech solution? Do you actually understand the complexities here? Do you understand the risk here? You need to stay in the game. Stay in the game, help you to build reputation, help you to expand your network, help you to see actually how the dot could be connected. Once you leave the game, those dots could likely no longer be connected. And also, because failure is actually the norm, success is actually rare. But sometimes you just need to win a couple times. You can lose 1,000 times, but if you just have just 1 or 2 big wins, you are doing so well. So stay in the game or maximize your chance of succeeding. Number 3 is be relentlessly resourceful. This is actually something a lot of founders discuss. Just if you really want to do it, you might be I don't have this, so I can't do this. No. The way you need to think is, I want to get this done, but I'm missing 3 criteria. But those are the things that I can do. Well, those are the people that I can reach out to have on the conditions met. So be relentlessly resourceful. And those are 3 things that I believe in the most.
Thank you so much for sharing so much key advice. Now, before we wrap up, I'd love to know what you're able to share on what else people can expect from AllScale in the coming months.
Right now, we're rolling out our stablecoin payroll solution to more people, but right now we're still in kind of private beta. We want to make sure everything's top level security, compliance. But if you're interested in exploring solutions in the space, how do I manage payroll? Like how do I pay my contractors, freelancer with Stablecoin? AllScale can help you. And we'll also likely be launching our invoicing and pay and also social commerce in the upcoming months. If you're running a small business, if you're working with clients in different regions, different countries, and we can make you to receive stablecoin payment from all of them without the hassle. So make things a lot easier, a lot smoother, and you can get money a lot quicker as well. That's something you can expect from AllScale. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. I'm pretty responsive on like Twitter, on LinkedIn, Telegram. You can go to our website. You can like literally contact us. We'll always get back to you within a day.
First of all, congratulations on this upcoming launch. And I just always love to end. If there's anything else that you would like to add or share about AllScale that maybe we haven't touched on, or is there any other advice that you want to share with our listeners?
First off, I want to say thank you for doing this podcast. And it's actually really hard to build the startup ecosystem in Vancouver, where a lot of talents just leave the country. It's very unfortunate. I've been in Canada for like many years. Almost half of my friends who are great founders left the country, either go back to Asia or they, like, for example, in New York, in the Bay Area to build. I think building in Canada, in Vancouver, takes a lot of effort, and I want to see more people like you to help people to bring this community together. I really appreciate everything you're doing. And most of the team members from AllScale actually also were based in Canada as well. All the co-founders actually from Vancouver as well. We see the best talent in Vancouver. We see people with really great mindsets. It's just the environment makes it hard for them to grow. But if we keep our options open, we start exploring more about the global market, maybe we can see a much, much more thriving, active startup ecosystem here in Vancouver. Yeah, I'd love to connect with more founders, builders in the local space. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in today's episode. For more, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and newsletter and follow us on socials at Early Stage Journal.